Salam alaikum, alaikum salam, con la buenas noches. Um, haven't read for a little while. Figure I'll put a little bit of read a little something for you guys tonight. We're gonna read here on the Congos about warfare and its usages. Like always, short read. Bear with my reading, please, and have some compassion for me. Here we go. In the dealing with this aspect of the native life, I scarcely know how to classify him as brave or cowardly. It may be best to catalog him according to the weapon he uses in the fight. The Lord Congo man with his flintlock gun is ridiculous, and is to be regarded more as a joke than condemned as a coward. But the Upper Congo man with his spear against spear and render such a good account of himself that we would rather have him on our side than an arrayed against us. I have seen the native make war with both kinds of weapons, and I would prefer to fight 20 natives with guns than with two armed with spears. The spear is wielded by the Upper Congo man. Only a tribe here and there uses the bow and arrow. But the flintlock gun is the only fighting weapon used in warfare by the Lower Congo people, and it is about the latter that we are writing. According to an ancient 16th century account, the weapons of the Lower Congo warrior at that time consisted of bow, arrows, axes, swords, spears, daggers, and shields, but these have been entirely superseded by paltry, cheap flintlock guns introduced by traders, the barrels of which in most cases have been fashioned out of old gas piping, and frequently do more damage to the person firing them than to the one at whom they are fired. The stock and fixing are in keeping with the barrel. The powder is used in generally adulterated and is warranted to make more noise and smoke than to do damage. Such powder has little carrying power and less penetrating force. The bullets are bits of twisted brass, wire, broken iron, or stones, or pieces of metal broken small enough to go down the barrel. When the gun is loaded for firing, the fighter does not press the button into his right shoulder. In other words, when the gun is loaded for firing, the fighter does not press the butt into his right shoulder and look along the barrel as he takes aim, but he holds the butt of the gun against the palm of his half extended right hand, and without taking aim, he pulls the trigger with a finger of his left hand. By this mode of firing, he guards his eyes from the sparks of the powder as it flashes in the pan, and his head from being blown off should the barrel burst from the excessive charge of powder forced in the barrel. But the aim being unsteady and uncertain, the object fired at is more secure than the objects in its immediate vicinity. The Congo gun will not carry more than about 50 yards, but the combatant, when firing, stand about 100 yards from each other, and the result generally is an almost bloodless war. I have known over 200 men fight 32, and after these unequal sides had fired at each other for 2.5 days, one man was struck on the ankle by a spent plug, which penetrated the flesh so slightly that I was able to remove it with my penknife. The king at San Salvador can proclaim war with a town without consulting anyone, even his headman, but a chief in his district who wants to fight another chief must gain the permission of the king first, and then the consent of the district chief. And to ensure that neutrality, he presents a pig to the king and a large or small portion of a pig to the other chief according to their status. Chiefs living in distant localities will not consult the king, but only the chiefs of their districts and divide the pig or pigs among them. A new palm frond shaken out and put in a prominent place on a house or in a town is used by a person or a town to indicate absolute neutrality in any local war and ensures respect by the antagonist. On the declaration of war between two towns, a strong charm is made by the medicine man, killing a frog which he burns with the twigs taken from the three special trees. It's called the lembanzao, the lolo, and the enfilu. And the ashes of these four things are made into a paste by addition of some water. This paste is put into small snail shells, one of which is given as a charm to each fighting man. The men then walk around one of the above named trees, and on return to the town, some palm wine is mixed with the paste remaining in the saucepan in which it was compounded, and all drink of it. After each man has drunk a little of this concoction, the medicine man takes the pot down to the road leading to the town which is to be attacked, and stands it in the road. Every fighting man who proposes to go to war must jump over the saucepan. If one stumbles or touches it with his foot, he is compelled to remain at home. For the omen shows that if he goes to the fight, he will be killed. The frog is used in compounding this charm because the natives have noticed that the frog's heart pulses for some time after it is taken from the body, an evidence of that tenacity of life which they hope will be imparted to them. During the whole period of the war, the men are not allowed to have any intercourse with women, or the charm will be nullified. In other districts, the men are used as follows. They send for a medicine man of the Elemba order, who takes some palm wine in a wooden plate or bowl, and dipping his fingers in the wine, he touches the lips of the fighters with the front, the back, and then the front again of his fingers, and tells them that they must neither look back nor enter a house, but go right away to fight. Hence, this ceremony is performed immediately before they set out for the enemy's town. This particular charm places them under a spell, so that they have no need to fear any possibility of harm or danger. The men, women, and children who remain at home procure the nzaji. Now listen, this is where, to me, it got a little bit interested. Not just what I read, but listen to what this says. The men and women and children who remain at home procure the nzaji fetish, said to cause lightning. Listen, nzaji. Doesn't it sound like Nsasi, who we call Siete Hayo? The men and women and children who remained at home procure the nzaji fetish, said to cause lightning, or the mbambi fetish, able to give horrible disease, or the mbanzangola fetish, wooden image able to give severe pain, whichever they can borrow, or the one in which they have the greatest faith, and they dance in local dance to remove or destroy any witchcraft that may be employed against their friends in fight. And as they gyrate around the fetish, they shout, "You fetish, you must kill anyone who is bewitching our fighting men, for it must be remembered that any man killed in a fight does not die by bullet or knife, but by witchcraft. Should a man happen to be killed during the attack, the fight rages around the course of its possession, and often in fighting for the bodies, several others are killed by knives and sticks used at close quarters. If the corpse falls into enemies' hands, they cut off the head, and after soaking it in water until the skull is cleaned off all the flesh, they fix it on a pole and place it at the entrance to the victor's town on an appointed position on a hill as an emblem of shame to the conquered. Sometimes the skull is cleaned and used by the victor as a drinking cup. The reason why they fight so fiercely for the body is that if the head is cut off, the spirit of the slaughtered man will haunt and by witchcraft kill not the men who slew him, but the members of his own family. Thus, on the one hand, they fight to preserve the body intact so as to not have the vengeance of the spirit failing on them as a family, and on the other hand, they strive to mutilate the enemy's body that his family may be done to death by the spirit owning the headless body. On returning victorious from a fight, there is much dancing and firing of guns. Sometimes the towns fighting will exhaust their stock of gunpowder before either side has gained any advantage over the other. A truce is then made for 2 or 3 months while they lay in another supply, and to the appointed day they will start firing again at each other. I have known this to happen more than once, and in those localities gunpowder has advanced in price. At other times they have agreed to postpone the commencement of a fight until each side has a good supply of powder, and this also has set up the price of powder throughout the district. When 2 towns, A and B, are fighting, and it is noticed that B, the smaller of the 2, is losing, then the neighboring friendly chief will advise the chief of B to sue for peace with a white goat and combo a maboko. Should he agree to this proposal, a white goat is brought, and one of the chiefs carries it on his shoulders to the scene of the fight. The chief of B leading the way by walking immediately in front of the one carrying the goat. On drawing near to the fighting place, they call out loudly, "Peace, peace, peace, luve, luve, luve." And upon hearing those words, the fighters must stop at once. The chief of B takes the goat, and kneeling before chief of A, he says, "I do not want to fight." The chief A must accept the goat, and there is no more fighting until the case has been arbitrated upon properly by the local chiefs. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam, kasamba lokutar. I pray you guys have a great night. Thank you for stopping by and listening to my poor reading. I hope you got something out of it. This is when